Hello everyone. I'd like to take a minute this week just to let you know about our plans for worship this coming Sunday. Last week we had a wonderful time having our whole church together after months of separation. We met at the Doubletree Hotel and we had one service at 10:30 with no nursery, no children's church, a family service, and it was truly almost overwhelming for me. It was such a blessing to be together. We're planning to do the same thing this week. All the children together. We'll have one service at 10:30, no Sunday school or any other events. Now, many of you are likely wondering what our plans are regarding the mask mandate that we heard about this week. On Monday, it was announced that both Douglas County and Governor Kelly are both issuing orders this week that require people to wear masks when in public in an indoor place. So here is what we are planning to do. After prayer, after looking through the various orders that have been issued, and after some communication with the people at the Doubletree and with the authorities for Douglas County Health, we are going to ask everyone to wear a mask from the point you enter into the building on Sunday morning until you are seated in one of those spots that are spread out in the ballroom there. And then we're asking that everyone please have their nose and mouth covered with that mask in place from the end of our service until you leave the building. Now, we're asking everyone to do this, but I will make it clear that we are not going to turn away anyone at the door. If someone shows up refusing to comply, we are not going to enforce that. We think that's beyond what we should do. And likewise, we're asking you, if you see someone who chooses to not wear a mask on Sunday, we're asking you to not approach them and try to shame them or rebuke them or challenge that decision that they have made. Personally, I'm hoping that everyone will comply with this. And I want to share with you the reason why. It's not because we're afraid of a virus. And we're not choosing to wear these masks because we're afraid of the governmental authorities or even afraid of what people may think. The reason I think it is right for us to do this is because we fear God. We want to fear God. And here's what God's word says. Romans chapter 13, verses 1 and 2. It says, "Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment." In addition, the Apostle Peter says this in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 13. "Be subject for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether it be to the emperor as supreme, or to governors as sent by him to punish those who do evil and to praise those who do good. For this is the will of God, that by doing good you should put to silence the ignorance of foolish people. Live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover-up for evil, but living as servants of God. Honor everyone, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the emperor." The fact is, we're not being asked to sin by wearing a mask. And we're also not being prohibited from doing what God calls us to do. Therefore, I believe the right response for us as a church, corporately on Sunday morning, is to set aside our preferences, to set aside our political opinions and concerns, and even to set aside our various thoughts regarding the science of masks and how effective or necessary this really is, and to simply submit to what God has providentially allowed to happen in our community this week. So I hope that you'll be able to do that you'll be able to see corporate worship and the unity of the body as more important than any secondary opinions or concerns or thoughts you have about how necessary or appropriate masks may be. And I hope that you will do so for biblical reasons. The fear of God, honoring the authorities that He has put in place, and out of humility and charity towards one another as well. Really, we have much to be thankful for. I'm sure that our brothers and sisters in the Sudan or in China who face great obstacles for them to be able to gather for worship would gladly trade places with us and say all that we have to do is to comply with some of these minimum requirements to be able to publicly meet to worship Christ. That is a joy. Really, the reason we're getting together on Sunday is because Jesus is King. I'm going to be preaching from Psalm chapter 2, or the second Psalm rather. And really the point there is that Christ rules over the nations and He is the final authority and the final judge. What a glorious truth that we get to gather and celebrate. That in the end, Christ will reign over all. So I hope that you will come and gather for worship with us on Sunday, and that you will humbly submit to our request. And even if you're unconvinced by the authorities in the world, Hebrews chapter 13 exhorts those in the church to submit to the elders that God has placed over them in the church, And I, as your pastor, am asking that you please cooperate with us in doing, in covering your nose and your mouth, again, on your entrance into the building until you reach your seat, and then after the service as well. I personally would rather not do this, but I'm going to be doing that on Sunday. And I'm asking you to join me. Let's put these secondary things to the side as we gather with one heart and one mind to worship Christ. I hope to see you on Sunday morning.